I was woken up by the vibration of a phone. The moment I opened my eyes, I was completely stunned. The old-fashioned chandelier on the ceiling, the blue curtains on the wall, the piles of test prep materials on the desk, this was the rental apartment near my university, where I lived during my senior year. I sat up abruptly, my heart pounding. The phone was still vibrating. I looked down and saw the date on the screen, March 15, 2016. My hands began to tremble. March 15, 2016, a date I would never forget for the rest of my life. Because tomorrow, I would make a decision, one that would ruin my entire life. Everything from my past life flooded into my mind like a tidal wave. My name is Chase. I come from an ordinary family and majored in finance in college. Back then, I was incredibly naive, thinking the world was a wonderful place because I had two best friends. One was Athena. We had been inseparable since freshman year, and she always said, "Chase is my best buddy." Her family was wealthy, and she was generous, often treating me to meals. I excelled in my major courses, while she was average. Before every exam, she would ask me to highlight the key points, and I never refused. The other one is Serena. We started getting close in our sophomore year. She was beautiful, spoke softly, and always had an air of needing to be protected. She also came from a well-off family, her father ran a company, but she never flaunted it. She always relied on me, asking me to study with her when she didn't understand assignments, discussing papers with me when she was confused, and even letting me help revise her internship resume. I always thought I must have done something incredibly good in my past life to meet two such wonderful people. I was so foolish. In my junior year, I participated in a national financial modeling competition. It was the most important opportunity of my life. The first prize would directly guarantee me admission to a top graduate school and a job offer from a prestigious investment bank. I prepared like crazy, stayed up countless nights, and built a complete model. The day before the competition, Athena came to me and said she wanted to see my model. "Just to learn from it, bro, can't you trust me?" I showed it to her. On the day of the competition, something went wrong with my model, the data had been tampered with, and all the calculations were wrong. The judges immediately accused me of academic misconduct and disqualified me. And Athena, using a model almost identical to mine, took first place. I went to confront her, and she looked completely innocent. "Chase, what are you talking about? I made the model myself." I wanted Serena to vouch for me, because when Athena came to see me that day, Serena was also there. Serena lowered her head and said quietly, "Chase, I didn't see Athena looking at your model. Maybe you're misremembering." That was when I realized they were in on it together. Later, I found out that Athena had always been jealous of me. Her family was wealthy, but she didn't have my talent, the scholarships I received, the awards I won, the recognition from teachers. She wanted all of it. And Serena, from start to finish, never liked me. She just treated me as a tool, helping her with homework, revising her resume, and doing everything she was too lazy to do. The two of them were extremely close behind the scenes, using me while laughing at me. After the competition, I was completely crushed. I failed to secure a graduate school recommendation, couldn't find a job, and my family went through a crisis. My father fell ill and needed a large sum of money. I went to Athena to borrow money, and she said in front of everyone, "Chase, we do know each other, but that doesn't mean I can just lend you money, right?" I went to find Serena, but she didn't even meet me. She only replied with a message, "We're just ordinary friends. Don't do this, you're making me uncomfortable." In the end, my father passed away because we couldn't afford treatment. I lost my education, my love, my family. I had nothing left. Meanwhile, Athena used that award to land a job at a top investment bank, and Serena married a wealthy man. Both of them went on to live glamorous lives. I died at the age of 35, alone, in a hospital bed, with no one visiting me. Right before I died, I thought, if I could live my life over again, would never show my model to anyone. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't trust them. Now, I've really come back. I stared at the phone screen, tears streaming down my face without me even realizing it. I wiped them away hard and took a deep breath. This time, I won't make the same mistakes again. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from Serena. Chase, want to grab dinner tonight? I have something I need your help with. In my past life, I was overjoyed and went running over without a second thought. She asked me to help revise her graduation thesis proposal, and I stayed up all night to finish it. In this life, I typed 2 words, not free. Sent. I stood up, walked to the mirror, and looked at the young face inside. I said to myself, Chase, listen up. Don't trust betrayers, don't pity bloodsuckers, don't look back. My phone vibrated again. Serena sent a pouting emoji. I turned it off directly. At the time, I didn't know this was just the beginning. The next day, I ran into Athena at the library. She was beaming like a flower as she walked over and patted me on the shoulder. Chase, haven't seen you out in a while. What have you been up to? I felt a wave of disgust inside, but I didn't let it show on my face. Preparing for a competition, the financial modeling one. Her eyes lit up. That competition. I signed up for it too. I heard the first prize guarantees graduate school admission. That's awesome. Bro, how's your model coming along? Not bad, still refining it. Can I take a look? I want to learn from it. She said this in a particularly casual tone, as if she were just commenting on the nice weather. In my past life, I handed her the USB drive without a second thought. In this life, I smiled and said, wait until it's finished. It's not ready yet. Her smile froze for a moment, but quickly returned. Alright, keep it up, bro. I've got your back. I watched her retreating figure, knowing full well in my heart. The sweeter she smiles at me now, the more ruthlessly she'll stab me in the back later. The competition is still a month away. I started rebuilding the model, but not following the original approach. The model from my previous life was indeed the best solution, but it was stolen by Athena. In this life, I prepared 2 sets of models. One set is fake, deliberately flawed data with logical loopholes, but it looks impressive on the surface. The other set is real, hidden so securely that I didn't even use a USB drive, everything is stored on an encrypted hard drive. I know Athena won't let this go. She will definitely find a way to get my model, because her own abilities are far from enough to achieve a first-place level. Sure enough, a week later, she came to me again. Chase, it's my birthday next weekend. Come on over, just a few of us close friends, Serena will be there too. In my previous life, I went too, drank quite a bit, and woke up the next day with a splitting headache, not knowing when I had lost my USB drive. In this life, I smiled and agreed. But I prepared in advance. On the day of the birthday party, Athena booked a KTV room, and about 7 or 8 people showed up. She was especially enthusiastic about urging everyone to drink, repeatedly saying, true friends drink it all in one gulp. I had a few drinks, then pretended to be drunk, lying still on the table. Squinting, I saw Athena and Serena exchange a glance. Serena walked over and gently nudged me, Chase. Chase. Are you okay? I didn't move. Serena took the USB drive from my pocket. I almost laughed out loud. Because I had deliberately placed the USB drive with the fake model in the most obvious spot in my pocket, the real model had long been hidden at home. They thought they had succeeded. They exchanged glances, and Athena made a copy of the USB drive before quietly slipping it back into my pocket. Throughout the entire process, my phone was recording. After the party ended, I woke up, pretending to know nothing, said goodbye to them, and went home. Back home, I turned on my computer and checked the files on the USB drive. They had copied the fake model, while the recording on my phone clearly captured the entire process. But that wasn't enough. I didn't just want to embarrass them, I wanted them to pay the price. 2 weeks before the competition, I did something else. In my previous life, I learned another secret about Athena University. She was caught cheating during her sophomore year final exams, but her family had connections and paid to have the matter suppressed. The school only issued a public reprimand and did not record it in her file. In this life, I found the teacher who handled the case back then. That teacher was later dismissed for accepting bribes, but before that, he still kept some records. I didn't approach the teacher directly. Instead, I went through a contact, a journalist I knew from my previous life who specialized in educational investigations. We had talked before, and she knew a lot of inside dirt about schools. In this life, I reached out to her in advance. Iris, I have a lead regarding the academic misconduct issue you've reported on before. I reported Athena's cheating, but instead of directly giving her the evidence, I said, you can go check it out. The teacher who handled it back then was named Marlon, and he should have records of it. Iris was very interested and said she would look into it. What I wanted was for Athena's misconduct to be exposed before the competition, so she wouldn't even be eligible to participate. However, things developed faster than I expected. A week before the competition, the school suddenly issued a notice: all contestants must sign an academic integrity pledge and submit the core code and raw data of their models for plagiarism checks. This rule didn't exist in my previous life. I realized that it might be because Iris had already started investigating, and the school took preventive measures in advance. Athena panicked. She came to me with a troubled look on her face. Chase, how's your model coming along? We have to submit code for plagiarism check this time, and I'm worried mine might be too similar to yours. Should we compare notes in advance? She said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I sneered inwardly, but put on a hesitant expression. Yeah, it wouldn't be good if they turned out to be the same. How about this, send me your model, and I'll take a look at the differences so we can make some adjustments. She hesitated for a moment but still sent it. When I saw her model, I almost burst out laughing. It was the fake model she had stolen from me, complete with the same erroneous data. She hadn't changed a thing. I also sent her the fake model I had prepared, saying, this is my version. Take a look and see if there's anything that needs to be changed. She compared them and said, our models are indeed quite similar in approach, though the data processing is a bit different. It should be fine. She thought it was fine, because even though the fake model looked impressive, its core logic was flawed. If it were actually run on real data, the results would be a complete mess. On the day of the competition, I brought the real model. During the on-site defense session, each contestant had to present their model results and answer questions from the judges. Athena was in front of me. She stood on the stage, the projector on, and began presenting her model. The first few slides went okay, but when she got to the core data, the results were completely off. The predicted values and actual values differed by a full 40%. The judge frowned. Student, there's a problem with the fit of your model. Did you check it yourself? Athena's face turned pale. I did check it. It was normal when I ran it before. Then run it again on the spot and let's see. Athena scrambled to run it again, but the result was the same. All the data was wrong. Whispers began to spread among the audience. I sat below, watching with a blank expression. Just then, Iris sent me a message. Found it. Marlon confessed. The news about Athena's cheating back then will be released next week. I didn't reply. I turned off my phone and walked onto the stage. I presented my model, rigorous logic, accurate data, with a fit rate of over 95%. The judges' eyes lit up. One professor directly asked, student, would you like to join my research group? The entire venue fell silent for a moment, then applause erupted. Standing on the stage, I saw Athena in the audience, her face as pale as paper. After the competition, I took first place. Athena was disqualified from the competition due to suspicion of model plagiarism and falsified results. The school's academic committee launched an investigation. That evening, a post appeared on the school forum, detailing evidence of Athena's cheating, plagiarism, and academic misconduct from her freshman to junior years, including a recording of her stealing my model. I posted it anonymously. The entire school erupted. The next day, Athena burst into my dormitory, her eyes red. "Chase, it was you, wasn't it? You recorded that audio? You fucking set me up." I looked at her, my tone calm. "I didn't set you up. You were the one who stole from me." "When did I ever steal from you? You're slandering me." I played the recording on my phone for her to hear, her voice crystal clear. "Quick, take out the USB drive and copy it." Her face turned completely pale. "Chase, we're brothers. Do you have to go this far?" I laughed. "Brothers? Did you think of me as a brother when you stole my model? Did you think of me as a brother when you cost me my graduate school recommendation and destroyed my family?" She froze. "What are you talking about? What do you mean, destroyed your family?" I realized I had let it slip, but I didn't care anymore. Just because you haven't experienced something doesn't mean it can't happen. "Athena, remember this, from today onward, you owe me, and I will collect every single debt, one by one." She left, stumbling away. Serena didn't come to find me, but she sent a message. "Chase, how did you become like this?" I looked at that message and suddenly found it ridiculous. I replied to her, "Become like this? I haven't changed at all, I just stopped being a fool." She didn't reply again. At the time, I had no idea that the matter was far from over. 3 years flew by. I graduated from that university and was recommended for graduate studies at the best finance school in the country. During my graduate studies, I published 3 top-tier journal papers and won 2 national-level awards. The year I graduated, I had 3 job offers, one from a top investment bank, one from a private equity fund, and one from a newly established fintech company. I chose the third. Because I knew that this company would grow into an industry giant within the next 3 years. In my previous life, I didn't get to witness it. In this life, I already knew its technological roadmap and business model in advance. In my first year on the job, I became a project lead. By the second year, a director. By the third year, a vice president. My annual salary went from a few $100,000 to several million, and I also held company equity. Over these 3 years, I occasionally heard news about Athena and Serena. After Athena's cheating scandal was exposed, the school gave her a disciplinary demerit and revoked her graduate school recommendation qualification. Her family pulled some strings to get her a job as a salesperson at a small securities firm. She quit after a year, and later I heard she went to another firm, only to quit again. After graduation, Serena joined a state-owned enterprise but quit after about half a year, saying it was too exhausting. Later, I heard she opened a coffee shop using her father's money, and she lost quite a bit. The two of them are still together, getting along very well. When I heard this news, I felt nothing inside. Not because I had forgiven them, but because I knew their real retribution had yet to come. At the end of the third year, an opportunity arose. The company I worked for was about to acquire a small fintech company, and the actual controller of that company was Serena's father. Serena's family company was called Xingyuan Finance. On the surface, it was a fintech company, but in reality, it was a loan shark platform. In the previous life, this company collapsed in early 2020, involving illegal fundraising and violent debt collection, and Serena's father was sentenced to 7 years. In this life, because of my existence, this outcome came even sooner. I led the due diligence for this acquisition, digging up every issue, the fund pools, fake targets, violent debt collection, all of it. Then I submitted the report to the regulatory authorities. In December 2019, Xingyuan Financial was shut down, and Serena's father was taken into criminal detention. When Serena came to me, it was on a rainy day. She stood downstairs at my office, soaked in the rain, looking much thinner than before. She wore an old, pilled coat, her hair a mess, nothing like the polished version of her from back then. "Chase, please, let my dad off the hook," her voice trembled. "I know I wronged you in the past, but we were young and foolish. Please, be magnanimous." I stood in front of her holding an umbrella, looking at her. "Young and foolish?" I repeated. When you teamed up with Athena to steal my model and cost me my graduate school recommendation, you were both in your 20s, hardly young anymore. She started crying. I didn't mean to. Athena said she just wanted to take a look, that it wouldn't affect you. I asked, then did you testify for me? When I said Athena stole my model, what did you say? You said you didn't see anything. You chose to help her, not me. She was speechless. Serena, your father's company illegally raised hundreds of millions from thousands of victims. Some of them are retired seniors, some used their medical funds, and others their children's tuition. Your family used that money to buy cars and houses, and the over 1 million you lost running your coffee shop, it all came from that money. I paused for a moment. Your father is in prison not because of me, but because he broke the law himself. Serena crouched on the ground and cried, loudly. I turned and walked away. After a few steps, I heard her shout from behind, Chase, you've changed. You weren't like this before. I didn't look back. Yes, I've changed. The old Chase is dead, died at 35, lying on a hospital bed with nothing to his name. The me now won't trust anyone anymore. Athena's retribution came even faster. After Xingyuan Financial collapsed, Serena's family was completely ruined. Their house was seized, their cars were towed away, and Serena's mother was hospitalized from the shock. That's when Athena made a choice, she cut ties with Serena. She told their mutual friends, I can't let her drag me down. Serena's father is a fraudster. If I'm too close to her, my reputation will be ruined too. When those words reached my ears, I was in my office looking over reports. I put down my pen, picked up my phone, and sent a message to Iris. Iris, can you repost about Athena's cheating scandal from back then? Focus on the part about her family paying to cover it up. Iris replied quickly, sure, I actually have new evidence on this. A week later, Iris's public account published a long article titled, How did the cheating girl from an elite school buy off the school? Although the article didn't name names, the details matched, and anyone in the circle knew exactly who it was referring to. This article was widely shared, and Athena's company saw it. She was called in for a meeting. A month later, she was fired. Later, she went for interviews at several companies but didn't get any offers. Everyone in the industry knew her history, and no company was willing to hire someone with a cheating scandal. I heard she moved back to her hometown, relying on her parents for support, and rarely left the house. During that time, I started having a dream. In the dream, there was no hatred, no revenge, just the beginning of college. Athena treated me to dinner for the first time and said, from now on, we're brothers. Serena smiled at me for the first time and said, Chase, you're such a nice person. In the dream, I didn't know what would happen later, so I thought that meal was delicious and that smile was beautiful. After waking up, I stared at the ceiling, feeling empty inside. I don't regret doing those things. But if I had a choice, I would rather have never met them. This thought even scared me a little. Because it meant that I was starting to get tired. In 2020, my company went public. As one of the founding team members, my net worth overnight exceeded 100 million. During that time, various interviews, forums, and awards came one after another. I stood on stage, the lights shining on me, with hundreds of people applauding below. But what was on my mind was something else. On this day in my previous life, I was lying in a hospital bed when a nurse just told me that my medical insurance coverage had run out and asked if I could pay the remaining fees. I said I had no money. She said, then let's go through the discharge procedures. One was in heaven, the other on earth. Walking to the bathroom, I splashed my face with cold water. The person in the mirror was 33 years old, 2 years younger than in my previous life, but the look in my eyes was completely different. I received a package with no sender information. Opening it, I found a letter and a USB drive inside. The letter was written by Athena, the handwriting crooked and messy, like a child's. Chase, I'm not writing this letter to ask for your forgiveness. I just want to say that what happened back then, I was the one who wronged you. I was jealous of you. Your family wasn't as well off as mine, but you were better than me at everything. The teachers liked you, your classmates admired you, and even the person I liked told me they admired you. I couldn't stand it. So I wanted to destroy you. Serena helped me, not because she hates you, but because she owes me a favor. When we were sophomores, she got caught cheating on an exam, and I helped her pull strings to make it go away. So she owes me, and she had to repay it. We schemed against you, ruined your chance at the competition, and left you with nothing. I thought I'd be happy, but I wasn't. Yet I couldn't turn back. If I said I was sorry, it would mean admitting I did those things. I couldn't swallow my pride. Later, you changed and started fighting back. I hated you, but more than that, I feared you. You became too terrifying, caring about nothing, capable of anything. Later on, my family also ran into trouble. My dad's business failed, and he ended up deep in debt. My mom was in poor health, and no one looked after me. I stayed alone in my hometown, not even wanting to leave the house. I finally understand how you felt back then. The feeling of having nothing, it really hurts. I'm not asking for anything from you. I just want to say that if I could turn back time, I wouldn't have done those things. Not because I'm afraid of karma, but because I lost something, a person who truly saw me as a friend. Chase, I'm sorry. I read it 3 times. Then I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. I didn't open the USB drive, I tossed it into the drawer. It's not that I don't want to look, it's that I'm afraid there might be something else inside, like the apology being fake, or the USB drive containing a virus. I've realized I can no longer trust anyone. That's the price of revenge. In the spring of 2021, I met someone. Her name was Luna, the founder of a startup I invested in. The first time I saw her was at a pitch event. She was working on smart health devices for the elderly, not sexy, not flashy, but solid. She stood on stage. Her PPT wasn't well designed, and the data was a bit messy, but she spoke with remarkable sincerity. I started this project because of my grandmother. She lives alone in her hometown, and no one would even know if she fell. I wanted to create something that would keep elderly people safe at home and give their children peace of mind when they're away. The investors in the audience weren't very interested, thinking the market was too small and the technical barriers too low. I raised my hand and asked a question: what's your team's gross margin? She paused for a moment and said, we haven't paid much attention to that. We want to focus on making the product first. The other investors laughed. But I thought, a founder who doesn't care about gross margin is either a fool or someone who truly wants to build a product. I invested $3 million. After that, we met often, talking about the project, the direction, and occasionally other things. She never knew how much I was worth, because she never asked. When she treated me to meals, she always chose small eateries, the kind that cost 20 or 30 yuan, and she would always rush to pay the bill. Once I fell ill and posted on my moments that I had a sore throat. The next morning, she showed up at my doorstep, carrying a thermos of porridge. I made it myself. Drink it while it's hot. She shoved the porridge into my hands and turned to leave. I opened the thermos. The porridge was burnt, with a smoky taste. But I finished it all. That night, I thought for a long time. In my past life, I was good to Serena because she was beautiful, gentle, and came from a well-off family. I thought she was worthy of me. But Serena was never truly good to me. She only needed me to do things for her, needed me to be her human tool. Luna is different. She doesn't need my money, doesn't need my resources, she can't even remember the name of my company. She is good to me because she wants to be. This scares me. Because if I am betrayed one more time, I will completely lose my mind. But I still asked her out to dinner. At an expensive restaurant, I wanted to tell her about my past. I said, I wasn't always like this. I've been deceived, betrayed, and lost everything. She looked at me without saying a word. So I stopped trusting anyone. I don't believe in kindness, I don't believe in feelings. I think everyone who gets close to me has an ulterior motive. She nodded and said, then what do you think my motive is for getting close to you? I thought for a moment and said, I don't know. She smiled. I don't know either. I just think you're an interesting person. You're clearly wealthy, yet you wear very ordinary shoes. You're obviously smart, but you can't even cook porridge. You're smiling, but there's no happiness in your eyes. She looked at me and said, Chase, are you tired? I almost burst into tears. I am tired. Very tired. So tired I feel like I'm dying. But I don't dare to stop, because I feel that if I do, someone will stab me in the back. Luna reached out and took my hand. She said, I won't lie to you, but I can't prove it to you either. So you have to decide for yourself whether to trust me. That night, I couldn't sleep. In 2022, Athena died. The news came from Serena. No, Serena sent it to me. She somehow found my email and sent a very short message. Chase, Athena is gone. Terminal liver cancer. By the time it was discovered, it was too late. She didn't notify anyone. She passed away alone in the hospital. While tidying up her belongings, I found a USB drive meant for you. I don't know what's on it, but I think you should have it. Attached is a photo of her suicide note. I opened the attachment. It was a photo of a handwritten letter. The handwriting was even more crooked than the previous letter, and some parts were blurred by tears. Chase, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I never thought I would die this early, but when I think about it, it's quite fair. The worst thing I ever did in my life was harm you, and I paid the price for it, for many years. Over the years, I've always wanted to find you and apologize in person, but I didn't have the face to see you. I saw online that you won an award, that you were on TV, that you became incredibly successful. I was truly happy for you. You deserve all of it. I haven't told anyone about my illness, not even Serena. I don't want people to pity me. I also didn't want you to know, afraid you might think I'm faking it for sympathy. I'm not. I just want to repay what I owe you before I die. The USB drive contains the full video of me stealing your model back then. It's not an audio recording, it's a video. That day, Serena was keeping watch. When I took your USB drive, I forgot there was a camera on the ceiling. I've kept it all this time, and I don't know why. Maybe somewhere in my heart, I knew it was evidence, a debt I owed you. Now I'm returning it to you. You can do whatever you want with it, expose me, sue me, anything. I don't care anymore. Chase, if there's a next life, I want to be a real friend to you. Not the kind who hurts you, but the kind who genuinely treats you to a meal, drinks with you, and stands by your side when you need it. But there's no next life for people, right? So in this life, I'm sorry. When I finished reading the letter, my hands were trembling. I walked out of the house, hailed a taxi, and went to the funeral home. Serena was waiting for me at the entrance. She looked thinner and more haggard than the last time I saw her. Serena said, she's inside. Do you want to go in and see her? I walked in and saw Athena's portrait. In the photo, she still looked like she did in college, smiling so happily. I stood there, unable to say a single word. Many memories came flooding back. I remembered the first time she treated me to a meal, saying, Chase, you're such a good person. I remembered her helping me move into the dorm, sweating profusely but refusing to let me lift a finger. I remembered her drinking with me when I was heartbroken, saying, Bro, you can find another woman, but brothers are for life. Were those real? Or were they fake from the very beginning? I don't know. I placed a bouquet of flowers in front of her portrait and stood there for a long time. As I was leaving, Serena called out to me. Chase, Athena said something before she left. She asked me to tell you. What? She said, tell Chase I don't hate him. I hate myself. I didn't look back. I walked out. In 2023, Luna and I got married. The wedding was small, with just a few colleagues and friends invited. My mom sat in the front row, crying uncontrollably. My dad was diagnosed with early-stage stomach cancer in 2018, and I took him for surgery ahead of time. He's in good health now. In my past life, he died because we couldn't afford treatment. In this life, I saved him. At the wedding, the MC asked me to say a few words. I thought for a moment and said, I used to trust no one. I believed the world was nothing but a transaction. If you're good to me, it's because you want something from me. If you smile at me, it's because you're trying to use me. The room fell silent. But later I realized that not everyone is like that. Some people approach you not to take something from you, but simply because you are who you are. I looked at Luna, her eyes red. Thank you for making me believe in this world again. After the wedding, I received the last message from Serena. Chase, I'm planning to go abroad, and I might not come back. Athena's situation made me think a lot. The mistakes I've made in my life, though not as many as hers, are still enough to regret for a lifetime. You said you haven't changed at all, you just stopped being a fool. Now I want to say, I've changed too. I'm no longer the kind of person who would betray a friend just to repay a favor. I wish you happiness. I didn't reply. In the second year of our marriage, Luna and I went to Athena's grave. Her grave was in a very remote place, and the tombstone was small. I placed a bouquet of flowers in front of the grave and left a few wedding candies. Luna didn't know why I came, but she didn't ask. She just stood quietly by my side, keeping me company. I looked at the tombstone, and Athena's words from her letter surfaced in my mind. If there's a next life, I want to be real friends with you. If there really were a chance, I think I would be willing. But people don't have a next life. So I can only, in this life, let go of what needs to be let go. I crouched down and arranged the wedding candies neatly. I said, Athena, I don't hate you anymore. But I can't forgive you either. So I can only wish you well in another world, be a good person. I stood up and took Luna's hand. Let's go. She nodded and turned around with me. After walking a few steps, I looked back. The tombstone cast a long shadow in the sunlight. I knew that from today onward, that chapter of youth was truly over. The good and the bad, the laughter and the tears, the trust and the betrayal, all of it belonged to that world now. And in this world, I had to live well. For myself, and for the ones I love. I tightened my grip on Luna's hand. She looked up at me and smiled. Let's go home.